I was so scared of the word witch. I was so scared of even looking at that and opening up that Pandora's box. I was scared of that possibly being a sin and what that meant for me. But here's the thing, that fear was taught, and it was taught for a reason. In the past, and even still now in some places around the world, women are taught to be submissive. Women are taught to stay in fear. Women are taught to stay quiet and to fear change. And this is taught in order to suppress. Same thing with the witch wound. We've been taught to fear this aspect of us so that we don't tap into it. But here's the thing, you can't contain our intelligence, our creativity, our passion, our desires. You can try, and it can maybe work for a little bit, but you can't contain us. In the same token, you can't contain a witch. In today's video, I'm going to share with you my experience with the witch wound, what that meant, how that affected my day-to-day, also how I healed it, and what the results of that were. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Ana Davila. I'm a purpose mentor, a breathwork facilitator, and a shadow work specialist. Subscribe for more tips and practices on developing your intuition, your power, your magic, and stepping into your soul mission. Before I start sharing, I just want to make sure that it is clear that this is my experience. This is not necessarily going to be everyone's experience, but if sharing my journey can possibly help you in any way, just by offering a different perspective, maybe offering a practice, then that's what I'm here for. But just know that your journey may and very likely will look different from mine. So if you feel triggered throughout this video, or if you're already triggered, I invite you to take a deep breath in, tune into whether you get to continue watching, or if this is something that maybe you need to step away from and come back another day. Just tune in and trust yourself. So what is a witch wound? The witch wound is something that you hold in your psyche, in your body, in your energetic field. And I feel like this is something I'm going to make a video about when I say you hold things in your body, because you 100% do. You hold trauma, you hold information in your muscles, in your bones, in your fascia, in your cells. And so because we are multidimensional beings, we hold a lot of information in all these different layers of ourselves. And usually in this 3D human experience, we tend to just address the mind. We don't necessarily address the body and also the energetics. The witch wound can be a wound that you have from this lifetime. If maybe as a child, you maybe did a little bit of something that came intuitively to you and looked like magic and you were completely shut down by it. Or if you had curiosities and then religion came, movies came, media, and completely told you to shut it down because it's a sin. So a witch wound can come from this lifetime. Also through observation of seeing other people that maybe are open with being a witch, being judged and seen as sinners. But also it can be from other lifetimes. And I would argue that more than likely, definitely it's coming from other lifetimes as well as this lifetime. You also develop a witch wound by maybe having this curiosity and pull of wanting to go there and wanting to learn more about this type of practice and the things you can do with it, but having fear overwhelm you, being scared of being judged by others or what your family's going to say. Inner battle with yourself can also create or contribute to the witch wound that's already there. So when I started this process, I realized that I held this wound because I was doing my breathwork certification, and it was the first level, and the teacher went for it. Like, she went and she started talking about the witch wound and other lifetimes and how that trauma stays in our body. And we can sometimes suppress our gifts because in, let's say, another lifetime, you expressed your gifts and that wasn't acceptable by society, and maybe you were harmed. Maybe you were physically harmed and your life ended early because of that. And that has come into this lifetime and brought up fear of not wanting to go there. When this teacher started talking about that, so much emotion came. I just started crying. I realized at that moment, what is going on? Like, there must be something within me that's reacting to what she's saying. It wasn't a conscious memory that came up. It wasn't an idea that I had necessarily engaged with too much. I had heard something about, witches in the past and how they were harmed and how many of these women weren't actually witches. Right? We learned this in history, but there was something that the moment she said it, it triggered this to come up. And then through breathwork, it really supported me in letting go of a lot of that energy. And so that was the first time when I realized, like, oh snap, is this something that I'm holding inside? Because when I look at my reality, there is a lot of fear. There's a lot of fear around, feeling energy, even fear of meditation at that time. At the time, there were times where I would get into meditation, and this wasn't necessarily right at the beginning, because at the beginning it was hard to quiet my thoughts and to find spaces in between my thoughts. But there were moments where with practice, I would get to a space where all of a sudden I was completely in stillness and I would start to see things, and I would freak out and I would take myself out of that, open my eyes and be like, no. So there was a lot of evidence in my experience of fear coming up when it came to any type of energy work and witchery and things like that. There was a lot of fear coming from religion and fear of possession and bad spirits and bad things happening to me. There was a lot of fear. And so that class, that certification brought up this truth that I was holding that witch wound, and everything else started to make sense. When I decided to start doing this work, I started to realize, okay, let's break this down, because that's my approach. I am a very grounded person. I'm also very esoteric, but let's break it down. Let's simplify things. Let's peel back the layers of the illusion that are creating that fear, and let's get to the truth. When you unpack something, when you get to the truth, fear starts to soften. And because I've experienced so much fear in my life, that's my approach. And so I started to break this down. Like, okay, what does being a witch actually mean, right? What does it actually mean? And then I came to the realization of like, it means something different for everyone. So what does being a witch mean for me? And this is when I learned about the archetype of the witch. An archetype is an energy signature of something. So the archetype of the witch, as I was doing research, as I was leaning into it, as I was learning about what being a witch means to a lot of different people and a lot of different cultures, the energy, the archetype of a witch is someone that is connected to nature. When we see witches portrayed, there's usually a lot of herbs involved and, connecting with animals and being in nature, running around, naked in the woods. Those are the imageries that would come up based on movies and stories and things like that. So connected to nature. That's one of the aspects of the witch archetype. Another aspect of the witch archetype is someone that can see what other people don't see. Someone that can see beyond the veil. Someone that can see past the illusion, that maybe can see something coming, that can maybe see what could happen if we continue on this path. So someone that can see more than others. Another aspect of the witch archetype is a rebel, someone that is on their own path, that isn't necessarily just doing what everyone else is doing, isn't, fitting into mainstream, but just doing their own thing, following their gut and doing things differently and being okay with that and accepting who they are, even though they know that they're different and they know that they are potentially not accepted by all of society. They are so authentic that they honor themselves first and who they truly are and be okay with those outcomes. Another aspect of the archetype of the witch is someone that cares about tradition, that cares and honors tradition, about teachings that are taught and passed down generation to generation to generation, and honoring those traditions, receiving those traditions from wisdom holders, and then becoming the wisdom holders themselves when they pass those traditions on, when they pass that information and everything that they've cultivated in their practice, when they pass it on. It is someone that is free from the mental chains that have been placed on us by society, someone that is able and willing to think outside of the box, to think critically, to not think like everyone else. They are mentally free. When I realized that those are the energetics of what a witch is, for me, again, this is my experience as I've done research and leaned into it and learned from a lot of different places. This is what I've come to the conclusion of what a witch is. When I realized that, I connect with all that, and that allowed me to soften the fear around even using the word witch. Now, do you have to call yourself a witch? No. Do I have to call myself a witch? No. And also, if there's fear of the word witch, anything that generates fear within me, in a way, I'm giving it power. So my personal approach, because I am also a rebel, I'm a grounded rebel that will research the shit out of something and make sure that, I will release and reveal the truth so that fear dissolves. I'm going to come up against it. And so for quite a bit of time, I started to use the word witch and call myself a witch. Not necessarily out in the open, but just in my practice, and just notice how it felt, notice what came up, work through what came up. But when I leaned into these energetic signatures of the archetype of the witch, I am in alignment with all of them, right? I connected to nature, yes. Having a free mind, yes. Honoring myself and being authentic in who I am, regardless of what society thinks, yes. Being able to honor traditions and also pass down lessons, pass down teachings to others. Yes. And then I took myself a step further. I took myself to, what does it mean to be a modern witch? And that just opened up this beautiful world of how it gets to look like for me. If you're wanting to start this process, I recommend defining what a witch means to you, like really leaning into it. And this is not something that's going to happen in like one sitting. Just let yourself work with the energy of the witch and the archetype and see what it wants to teach you. So let's say that you become aware that you do hold the witch wound, right? Let me share with you the ways that this can affect your day-to-day, and possibly this may encourage you to actually lean in and do this work. If you hold the witch wound, something that can be part of your experience over and over again throughout your entire life is you holding yourself back from opportunities, holding yourself back from trying different things, holding yourself back from developing really beautiful relationships, from abundance, from creativity, holding yourself back because there's this fear of, what if I'm fully seen? And what are people going to think of me when they fully see the truth of who I am? And so you tend to lean back and hold yourself back and not put yourself in the spotlight, not take up space, not let other people see you for who you truly are, see your magic, your light, your amazingness, and kind of go living life under the radar. Now, is this a bad way of living? No. If you watch my other videos, you know that I am very adamant about something not being good or bad. It's just what it is. It's just having sovereignty as to whether you're choosing that or not, and that not happening on autopilot. And so is that a life that's good or bad? No, but it's a choice that you should make if you want to live that life where you're just under the radar. So it's up to you if that's something you get to do. But if you hold the witch wound, that is something that possibly is happening in your life. You're just kind of riding under the radar and not fully expressing who you truly are, therefore not fully living. Another way it can hold you back is if there's something that you truly desire to experience, to have in this life, and it is even connected by a fraction to the witch archetype, you're going to hold yourself back. So if, let's say, you are truly desiring being your own boss, that is connected a little bit with the witch archetype because it's something that's not the norm, right? It's not something that society necessarily encourages, that society necessarily supports and, create systems to support that journey. It's something that requires courage and requires you stepping out of the norm, which is an aspect of the witch archetype. So having the witch wound will hold you back from taking any step in creating that reality for you, because in order to step into that thing that you truly desire, you confront aspects of you, your worth, your beliefs about yourself, your beliefs about the world, and that can be scary. If you have the witch wound, that can also be affecting your meditations, because that wound, which is like, again, in your body, in your psyche, in your energetic field, there's fear there. There's fear of like, oh, what if I actually go deep into meditation and I have some weird ass visuals? What does that mean about me? Does that mean I'm a sinner? Does that mean that I've connected with something that's gonna cause harm on me? There's a lot of fear coming up. And so that may limit your meditations, which meditations, the way I experience meditations, I go into meditation with zero expectations. And then sometimes I experience calmness. Sometimes I experience visuals. Sometimes I experience a message from my higher self. Sometimes I experience activations and clearings. Sometimes I experience connections with ancestors. It's infinite, the possibilities of your experience during meditation. But if you're holding the witch wound, you are not letting yourself go all the way in and dropping deep into full surrender because there's fear. If you're wanting a life that is different than the one you're currently living, that is different than the one that your family has, that your friends have, that society wants for you, this is connected to the aspect of the witch that's a rebel, that wants something different. You're holding that witch wound, and because it's connected to that aspect of the witch wound, the rebel aspect, you're not going to show up for it fully, for that life that you actually want to create for yourself. Consciously, you're like, yes, I want something different. But on a subconscious level, which by the way is dictating about 80% of how you show up in life and who you are being and the decisions that you make, you're not going to show up for it fully. You're going to kind of dip your toe and back out, versus like fully stepping in and then bringing the other foot and putting it in and continuing to take steps towards a life that not only you desire, but you are worthy of. If your soul gifts are starting to come online, which by the way, you have many soul gifts and you maybe are aware of some, but I can almost guarantee that you're not aware of all. If those are starting to try to come online, having that witch wound is going to make you be so scared that you're going to shut them down. You're going to keep pushing them away. And your soul gifts are aspects of you that your soul came here to express, and they're going to support you for your soul aligned career. Period. Your soul gifts are the gifts that your soul gave you to utilize in this lifetime that are going to support you for your soul mission, for your soul aligned career, and are going to not just serve you, but serve the collective, serve others. If you haven't worked through the witch wound, you will shut those gifts down and start to outsource your power, outsource your gift. These can be gifts like starting to see past the illusion, starting to feel energy, start to, notice things that other people don't notice, being able to communicate in a really powerful way that is not just tangible, but also energetic. There's so many different soul gifts. And I actually talk about this in a new program that I'm coming out with. And there's an entire module on soul gifts because there's so many. They're tangible, intangible, all the things. If you're still holding the witch wound and you haven't done any work around that, you're going to shut them down because you're scared. You're scared of what that means if you were to fully let those gifts come online. Now let's talk about how I actually went through the journey of healing the witch wound. Like I mentioned, first is getting clear as to what does it mean to be a witch for you specifically. I went into a deep rabbit hole of figuring out what does a witch actually mean. So what is a witch for me, for other people, and what's the conclusion that feels true to me? What does it mean to be a witch? The second step for me was, what are my fears around that? Why am I scared of it? And lean into that. I did shadow work around it. Shadow work is looking at all aspects of yourself and working through them. And really, I find that shadow work holds a lot of information around the witch wound, because anything that you've suppressed, anything that maybe is from another lifetime that you aren't consciously aware of, shadow work is going to let you work through it. Breath work. Breath work is a practice that can support your shadow work, but can also support so many different things. Technically, like on a technical level, breathwork is a type of active meditation, but if you've done breathwork, you know that it's so much more. It is a practice that will reveal the truth. It is a practice that allows you to release trauma from your body, psyche, and energetic field. It helps you also transmute and transform energy that's already within you. It activates your gifts, your power, your soul connection. And doing that allows you to be resourced enough to lean into this type of work even more. You can start leaning in now, and then as you're leaning in, get resourced, connect with your power, connect with your truth, connect with the fact that you are sovereign as fuck. And unless you allow something outside of you to harm you when it comes to energetics, they will not. And that was something I had to definitely lean into. I was very, very scared of being harmed by spirits and evil, whatever the F people talk about, until I arrived to knowing and remembering that I am powerful as fuck and I am unavailable for bullshit. And that means bullshit in the 3D world, but also in the energetic world. Like, fuck out of here now. And then the last way that supported me in healing the witch wound is doing archetype work. Like I mentioned earlier, I was able to connect with the archetype of the witch. And then working with that archetype, seeing how it wants to unfold and what it wants to teach me is so supportive, because this is not a cookie cutter approach where the way someone else did it is going to work for you exactly. That doesn't work when it comes to energetics, when it comes to magic, to spiritual practices, because we all are very, very unique, not only in this lifetime that we've had, but the culmination of every single lifetime. We are a unique being in this existence. And so what someone else does isn't necessarily going to support you the same exact way. So working with archetypes is helpful because it's going to look different for every single person. So I work with the witch archetype, which meant committing to, okay, let's lean into this energy of the witch. What does it want to teach me? And maybe pick a week or a month or maybe a 3-month commitment of teach me what you want to teach me. I'm here for it. And then you're going to see and notice different things happen in your actual life that's going to support you in learning certain things, but also in your working. So in your meditation, in your rituals, if you do new moon, full moon rituals, or just rituals with plants or animal spirits or whatever your specific practice is, when you are working with an archetype, that energy comes in and it teaches you exactly the lessons that you're meant to learn that are going to support you specifically on your specific journey. Some of the results that I saw in my life once I healed the witch wound were my spiritual practice expanded. My ability to work with and feel energy tangibly expanded. My visuals expanded. So my ability to see past the illusion, receiving messages in my dreams or even in meditations completely just like expanded. I became more clear on my vision, my why, and my true desires. I'm able to manifest things a lot more powerfully, a lot quicker. I'm a lot more intentional about how I manifest. I'm able to see the energy of bullshit, of BS. My soul gifts got stronger. My dream work got stronger. The messages I received in my dreams got stronger. My ability to channel energy became a lot easier. And I started to just come up with more solutions to whatever problem I was facing at the time. I live a more magical life. In my day-to-day, I see a lot more signs and symbols, more synchronicities, all of that beautiful stuff that makes you feel so supported in life. I experience it so much more after healing the witch wound. I also just feel more like my true self, and that allows me to make deeper, more authentic connections with others. This work is extremely powerful. And again, I just want to say one more time, you do not have to call yourself a witch. You don't have to consider yourself a witch, but if you hold the witch wound, it would still be beneficial to do this work, to lean into it, because the archetype of the witch holds so many powerful gifts that if you hold the witch wound, even if you aren't a witch, right? Even if you don't consider yourself a witch, the witch wound could still be holding you back in certain aspects of your life because of the energetic signature. So being a rebel, being connected to nature, being authentic. Let me know in the comments if you can relate to any of this. I was a little bit hesitant to share this because one, it's so personal, and two, I have already experienced a lot of, resistance to the idea of a witch. And I'm so grateful that I have arrived to this place where I am now, where I am comfortable being who I truly am. Using the word witch is supportive for me right now, but it's not something I'm attached to, because really, like I mentioned, it's the energetic signature of that archetype. I'm a rebel. I'm connected with nature. I'm authentic. I, do things my own way, and being able to wear, for example, these earring specifically, the pentacle, a lot of people will see this symbol and automatically label you as a witch, and I'm okay with that. And, it's interesting that my experience with how people react to me wearing these in traditional places or conservative places, it's just, yeah, it's a journey. It's a vibe. Let me know in the comments again if you can relate to any of this. And if you want me to speak more into this type of topic, also let me know, because I can definitely go there. I mean, I've done a lot of work around this. It's been really, really supportive. And so if I can support you in any way, definitely let me know. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe so that you don't miss out on more videos like this. If you have someone that is starting to step into this world and would be supported in watching this video, feel free to share this video with them. And my last invitation is to consider, 1, what does a witch mean for you? And then 2, what does it mean to be a modern witch? This is something that I've been really working with and on and leaning into, and merging traditions with more modern things like technology. It's just been really fun and a beautiful journey of combining, because there's an evolution of everything, including the archetype of the witch. And so personally, this moment consider myself a modern witch, and the way I approach things isn't as traditional as maybe other people, but I'm okay with that because, again, I'm a rebel, an aspect of the witch.